Hey, good there. Thanks for joining me. As part of my business, one of the things I do is I work with developers to plan and execute what's called an in-place rehab. And basically, the residents are still in place while the work is happening to their unit. This is used a lot of times when there's minor rehab for some kind of recapitalization of a property. Uh, a lot of times it's a 4% tax credit and bond deal, maybe a renegotiation, re-execution, transfer of a project-based Section 8 contract, things like that. But it's an extent of work that doesn't require people to vacate their units for a week, month, even longer period of time. It's the kind of thing that can be done 8 to 5, over a couple days. With the pandemic, that's become kind of a challenged process. It's impractical in some areas because of case rates, because of real infection, known infections. Uh, Attitudinally, it's just something that's really become considered not safe, not very wise, and too risky for everybody involved. And in some cases, HUDA says, "Look, you can't approach it this way. You're going to have to do this as a quote out of place rehab or do temporary relocation of residents, even if it's for a couple of days, just to get people away from each other, have people separated from the contractors, have it set up so that the work can be done in the unit can be cleaned and sanitized before people come back. So it's made the necessity to really think through issues and challenges on these and plan for contingencies and risks that much more important. One example, well, a couple of examples that are really just similar in different parts of the country. They started off as in place rehabs and eventually morphed into people being out of the unit for 5 days in one case, up to 2 weeks in another. Um, and early on, what wasn't being considered was funds and processes and methods for getting folks help moving, getting them transportation help, and the housing piece. So it really has just sort of highlighted the need to do that almost on every project, pandemic or not. There's always a possibility of something coming up in the renovation process that just makes that in place process infeasible, either for the entire project or a couple buildings where some major issues are encountered. Think about older properties that may have been rehabbed over time. There may have been abatement done on things like mold, hazardous materials on a handful of buildings, but not others. And so you may have a mixed property where you're going to have more intensive rehab on one building than another. Well, you're not going to be able to apply the same process and the same approach across that property. And so I think that's the thing that, if there's a positive out of COVID, I think it's taught us that you really have to look at these buildings, building by building, floor by floor, at times even unit by unit, and really make sure that you've got some contingency and backup plans built in for when you can't do things in place, when you may need to put somebody into a hotel. Those conditions have always existed, but I think people have gotten comfortable just kind of ignoring them and just kind of hoping that people don't squawk too much and don't resist. But I think this has really highlighted this pandemic period has really highlighted the absolute necessity to break things down into much smaller work packages. Again, floor by floor, building by building, unit by unit, and looking at the process of working with the residents uh, on that smaller scale and not just the entire project, not just assuming that what you do on building A is going to work for building B. And so that takes time, obviously. And I've posted before about doing relocation plans, project management plans, communication. All that's important. And so even though it's maybe a minor rehab type project where you're thinking of doing it in place, still go through the process of looking at all these things and putting yourself in a position to succeed, as opposed to having things come up in the midst of it that aren't planned, aren't budgeted, and put you behind and put you sideways with your investors, with oversight folks, most importantly with the residents and the tenants that you're going to now have long term as your folk. Hopefully that's helped. If you think I can help you more, feel free to reach out to me. You can email me directly at Chad, so CHAD, at revivaldevelopmentservices.com. And there's the, well, let me move the camera down. There you go. There's the company name spelled out. Website is the same, revivaldevelopmentservices.com. Find me on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you. Give you some stories on things that have gone well and not, and do what I can to help you out. Thanks for watching.